Welcome to the Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, the Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you. A dream can be meaningful, even if you don't know what it means. The name of today's music will be Relic-esque, to slowly become a relic. And aren't we all doing that? Yes. Okay. What big picture stuff do we miss out on as we work on our dreams one by one? Today's guest, Laura Hileman, has some things to say about long-term dream journaling and how we can use those journals to help us review the passing seasons of our lives. I am your host, Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. I'd like to start with just a touch into a recent dream of mine is that I'm just in the finishing stages of my part of organizing the June conference for the IASD, and I'm about to start organizing I'm starting to ramp up organizing for the October Santa Cruz event, the Festival of Dreams. And I had a dream last night, or a couple nights ago, about a woman who had decided not to organize anything anymore. So that's okay. So that's something, because I organize. That's what I do. But there was something very calming about feeling into that woman who doesn't choose to organize. She can just sit back, put her feet up, and relax. So maybe that's a part of me learning how to relax, because I'm not going to give up on organizing. I just love it too much. All right. So that's my dream moment. So welcome, Laura Hileman. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Laura has been a dream worker and spiritual director for 25 years. Trained at the Hayden Institute, she's mentored there and at Wisdom Tree Collective, where her dream course launches in September. Through her practice, Fire by Night Dreamwork, Laura offers online dream groups, private sessions, and workshops on dream integration and spiritual practice. And her website is firebynight.net. So, Laura, so good to have you on the show.
I'm enjoying this already. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. I believe I found you just by Googling dream workers. And so, all praise the webpage. The webpage still work. They still work.
They do. Yeah.
So great. Tell me a little bit about this idea of long-term dream work as opposed to just the dream by dream daily analysis that we often go into. How did that start for you? And why don't you go ahead and launch?
Yeah. Well, so I'm a journaler from way back, like third grade. Mm-hmm. And so there's always been this fascination with, well, what's developing? And recognizing patterns, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So when I started really tracking dreams, I started to notice, of course, patterns. Sometimes it would be like, an animus figure or a shadow figure. But then I started going, what's going on here? And I would start to look at a season of my life and say, what is the story I've been telling myself about this passage of time and how things have fallen out? But what are the dreams saying? And what I discovered was when I went back and really did sort of a careful look at what dreams were happening and when they were happening, what the context was, I was starting to see a whole nother story emerge that was much more gracious and compassionate and exciting and life-giving than the one I was telling myself. So it became something I became fascinated in this, and I do a regular, sort of a regular seasonal review of my dreams. and I also do workshops on that, and I just discover, among other things, the deepening sense of being so truly companioned in this work, which was one of the first things one of my first ahas after a certain amount of, delight in decoding, which I think we all go through, then there became this like, wait a minute, there's a relationship with me and what, the mystery, we sometimes just call the dream giver, that there is something that is deeply tuned into what I'm going through, and guiding and encouraging and helping me lighten up, and saying, no, really take this more seriously, and through all that marvelous language of metaphor and image and emotion, and reference and memory that we get through dreams.
So I wonder if you could give us an example of something, some insight that you got after surveying a long-term stretch of dream journaling.
Right. Well, what probably the most, the one that makes the best story is the one when I went back and started looking at my whole cancer journey. So 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. But before the diagnosis, I had these dreams, and it was like, something is not right. Something is not right. There were sick fish that gave me this, kind of, is it Eugene Ginlin? Somebody talks about the sick fish problem. And just things that made me know, but at the time I was just sort of going, something feels weird, in these dreams. And as I started looking at those warning dreams over time, the something is not right dreams, I thought, okay, pay attention. Really and truly, this is body stuff. It's kind of what the dreams helped me see when I look back over like 6 months. And I think one of them that really that got my attention was, Brenda Starr, ace reporter from the comic strips.
Yes.
She runs upstairs from the basement and tells her mother, danger, danger, get out. Like there's going to be an explosion in the basement. So of course I'm going like, okay, that's going to be ovarian, uterine stuff. And it turned out not to be, but that was one of those moments when it was like, no, really start looking. And so I did, start going to some specialists, and nothing was turning up. But there was one day when I was teaching preschool at the time, which is a really great way to be a dream worker, because you spend your days with this like the 2-year-old psyche. It's fabulous, the 3-year-old psyche. And then you go in the afternoon, and I could do my dream work and run my groups. But one day I just was not feeling right. I went to this little art community that I was part of, and I ripped off like 12 feet of butcher paper, pinned it to the wall, started with the dream that I had that day, and I put that in the very middle. And then I just started painting all the dreams that were coming to me, and I painted and painted and painted and painted and painted. And I was like, I don't know what just happened, but that felt so good. And then I could look at that, and a few days later, there was finally that kind of moment where the lump in the armpit, led to a diagnosis. And when I looked back at that thing, there was this one dream in which I had been handed a bagpipe by this character that I trusted, sort of a Green Man figure I'd come to trust. And it was like that, trying to paint that bagpipe was awful in the picture. And I tried, and I couldn't. It was just this dreadful mess. And what I realized later is that was a tumor.
Oh.
What he had handed me, and it was this. So this is a piece of that sense of, oh wait, the dream says. So in this dream that turned out to be so important, I go into a concert hall, and I go down the very front row. There's like just this one seat left. There's a whole orchestra, and the guy in a flannel shirt hands me a bagpipe from the stage, and it's like, this is yours to play. And I think, this is ridiculous. Bagpipes don't belong in orchestras. And, the whole thing just felt, kind of out of, but there's something about the trust and the way he handed it to me. It was like, no, really, this is yours. And I think that particular way that he handed that off and that I received it, and that then the painting kind of identified that, that kind of knowing that you have as that tumor. I felt like, okay, this is this dangerous, life-giving opportunity. How do I play it? And that became, the way that I could engage with that whole journey. Like, what is the eros of this cancer? What does it want? What is it? What is trying to evolve? What is trying to become?
What do you mean the eros of the cancer?
The longing.
Oh,
right?
the longing.
That longing.
Thank you. Yes.
What
okay.
is the longing? And so because I'd been handed that and could engage at that level because of the dreams, the whole journey became just sort of this magical mystery tour of, not only was I really well companioned in the healing of the surgery and the chemo and the radiation, but what emerged was an aspect of myself that had gone underground that really needed to be revived. So I was saving the life of a part of me that had gone underground. So that's the kind of thing that happens when we pay attention long term.
Well, that's a pretty extreme example.
It's an extreme example,
and yet incredibly valuable. As you talked about something going underground, and that reminds me of the early dream of somebody running from downstairs, like something was hidden.
Yes,
and there it is. I too have noticed like themes that I have that evolve over time. Like these particular themes. Like being trying to catch the airplane or going to Burning Man. I have all these themes, and what do they mean? I don't know. One by one, there's different ahas I can get from the various dreams. But then in aggregate, there's like this evolution. Like I don't run for the airplane as often anymore, and like I'm more in harmony with what the timing of things are, and that's what I've seen in my waking life too. So there's a reflection of how I'm evolving in a waking life that shows up in my dreams.
Right. It's really true. Dreams and life are the same thing. It's not some separate world, man. This is all one thing. Right. Sometimes I like to use a Mobius strip to illustrate that with my folks that I work with.
Interesting.
Like, it is all one. It looks like day and night, but they intersect, and they you will have a synchronicity that, of course, confirms or expands or extends a dream figure that you're working with. Or if you're in a dream group, someone else will bring in a dream that helps you with theirs, with your own dream, rather.
All the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a pretty constant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious about this idea that day and night are all one thing. I wonder if you can say a little bit more about that, the Mobius strip.
Yeah, well, it's like, we talk about the imaginal world, is one way of talking about that place where the dreams find us, where we are both conscious and unconscious, where we are both we are in both worlds. We walk in with a foot in each of these, what we call worlds, I guess, often in dream work, the consciousness and the unconscious, the sleeping part of us, the waking part of us. And so when we see that, the more work we do, we start to go, that dream of whatever it is. I had I'm just pulling one out of this piano dream I talk about sometimes. What happened in the piano dream, this little song that comes out of the piano unbidden, is as real and as true and as guiding a fact, a psychological, spiritual, emotional fact, as anything that actually happens in a one-to-one relationship or in an event in my life. Those are the same. Those are they carry the same weight. And of course, the dreaming body interprets all that. I mean, we feel it in our bodies and brains as real. The mind says that's real. So
right, yeah. Which is like a little disturbing to think about nightmares, which are so intense, and yet their body does experience that as something true, and yet somehow it's valuable, because I do trust that the dreams are somehow helpful. They've evolved with us for some reason to help us survive and thrive, and so even the nightmares are somehow valuable.
Very much so. In fact, those are sometimes the most valuable. And I'm not a therapist. I do have a psychology degree, and I learned a fair amount about trauma, but I do not do the trauma dreams. I feel like those are to be handled a little differently, but they are, I think, at heart trying to help us grow and evolve and develop.
Absolutely. And, I'm a person who does have a lot of nightmares, and I've come to think that they are signs that I am evolving. Exactly. And that the trauma in the dream is me letting go of some part of myself that, that I identify with. This is who I am, and yet I have to let go of it. And so it feels like death.
Always. Yeah, there's so much. And you do start to trust it. You do start to trust. Oh, yeah. I mean, people who I've worked with, over a while, they go, I just don't have that many nightmares anymore. Or if I do have disturbing dreams, they don't bother me so much.
Right.
Because I know. Yeah, right.
You're just curious about it. I'm just curious instead of terrified.
Right.
Right. So I wanted to move a little bit toward how dreams and spirituality tied together. And this is something that I know that they talk a lot about in the Hayden Institute, which is a kind of a sister organization to the IASD, which is what I'm more familiar with. But I've had a lot of guests who are Hayden graduates on, and Hayden professors as well. And, how does the dreaming tie into spirituality? I wonder if you'd like to say a little bit about that.
I think if we use the word wisdom, I think that's really a helpful place to gather, say, what comes to us in dreams is wisdom, and it feels other. It doesn't feel like, oh, I knew that, although somewhere in there we did. Jeremy Taylor says, that aha is a function of memory, like somewhere down there you knew it. But I feel like there's a sense of kind of the transcendent, maybe, but it's really within. It's more of that feminine version of the transcendent, which is
what you call the mystery, like the mystery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that is really what we are tapping into. Is this capital and mystery at the heart of life that is, a presence that wishes us well and that fosters our growth and that challenges us and names us and knows us and loves us and leads us and challenges us. And that's what's going on in the dreams. And so what I like to do is be able to, bring whatever language works, sort of meet, if it's a traditional sort of, and usually when I say traditional sort of Christian, I'm actually talking to folks who are more like progressive Protestant type, that's who's talking. That's who's hungry at the edges of Christendom, going, there's got to be more, and there is. And so, but languaging that, there's kind of no problem. It's kind of seamless to language spiritual exploration in, Christian. Terminology, theology, spirituality, mysticism, all that just works.
Right. Yeah, Bob Hayden himself was a minister, right? So the founder of Hayden
he was an
Institute.
Episcopal priest. Yeah.
Okay.
And so what I like to do, kind of one thing we're trained to do through Hayden, at least back in the old, I was there a long time ago.
Okay.
And so it was a little more Episcopalian in flavor, and now it's much more, everybody feels comfortable. But so we did we had to run these little dream groups where, part of our class was go gather some people, run a dream group. And many people did those with church groups that already existed. And of course, so I started a little dream group, and that thing ran for 15 years. And it was supposed to run for 6 sessions.
Okay. 6 sessions.
We just kept going. And I think that dreams open so easily into spiritual practice. I think dream work, no matter what you do with it, is a form of prayer. And I think that the way that we play with dreams, there's a lot of hands-on, art and ritual and all of that I think people in churches are hungry for. And it's like, well, here, we can do that here,
right.
in this dream group. Yeah. And that playful, prayerful, and deeply connective work that we do that grows compassion and grows courage, and grows a deeper sense of the way the mystery really is with us and participates and we respond. I mean, the whole thing's really about relationship. That is what I think many people who are sort of in the working and studying and growing in the spirituality realm are really after. And I think dreams help one way to really enhance, that.
Right. And you talk about relationship, and I think dreams really help on so many levels, like the relationship with ourselves, the relationship with our other people in our lives, and the relationship with the mystery. And that dreams really touch on all those levels.
Absolutely.
And the groups that I run and that I've been a part of over the years have been like a really valuable source of community that is in really many ways a spiritual community, and that I feel seen. And I see other people, I see their struggles, their joys, I get to celebrate with them. And there's just this really very satisfying way that a dream group fits into my life as a community, as a really heartfelt community.
Absolutely. And I love that, you don't have to have a dream to come to a dream group because you participate in everybody else's dream. We do that, projective group dream work like Jeremy, taught everybody, Jeremy Taylor, and adding a step or two, and everybody kind of tweaks it. But the sense of belonging is so profound as we all step into the same dream and
Absolutely.
work from there. And I'm thinking about too, I'm thinking about the way that and so I'll speak to this business of sort of the church, and here's a dream I had one time, and it sort of suddenly made sense. And in the dream, there's this big sparklingly white church, and out in the back by the loading dock is a wounded wolf. And this wounded wolf is lying down. He's got some bloody gash. I mean, he's just so pathetic. And he looks up at me like, help, And I thought, yeah. And I woke up, I thought, yes, there is a wounded wolf outside of every church, that has this sort of shiny exterior. What do we do with, it's sort of a shadow. It's sort of the problem of sin. We talk about sin as being a wolf crouched at the door. And I'm like, let's be compassionate about this. There's this, that whole sin thing needs a revision. And one of the colleagues, professors at Hayden, has written a great book called Original Blessing. And it's all about, her name's Danielle Schroyer. She's just fabulous. And it's all about like, y'all, that original sin thing, like it did not exist actually until the 4th century. Like some guys put that in, later. It's not even there. So let's take a real step back here and look at that sense of belonging, connection, relationship, blessing that really shows up when we do our dream work.
That's so true. There's this old saying that the word sin comes from archery term, meaning we missed the mark.
Yeah.
So
hamartia,
is that where that comes from? Okay, I've heard that so many times, and I'm never quite sure where it came from. But just the idea that it's not like we're evil or that we intended to be bad or anything, that we just missed. And can we like bring compassion to ourselves and and clean up any damage that the arrow made?
So much is about just alignment, right?
Yeah.
So that practice, I think dreams help us with that.
Well, I'm wondering about the whole church environment, because there are some religious traditions that frown on dream work and think that dreams are from the devil, or have you ever had any pushback, or do you from places where you've had groups, or are you aware of this phenomenon?
I that does not tend to be what I encounter when I, go to talk to people who invite me, or who, who are willing to come to a group. But I had in Nashville, I lived there for a long time, and I had this wonderful connection at the library. I thought, dreams are stories; they belong at the library. Let's see what we can cook up. And so I had I started I did these little dream sessions, kind of like all these branches all over town, and a lot of people came, and that is where I would run into this kind of tension between fascination and fear, right? Around dreams that are the bad dreams, and encountered this thing where bad dreams are from like Satan, who is an externalized and individual force fighting against, that whole thing. And I thought, okay, that is going to take a long time. That's a lot of work and a lot of trust that helps us meet that, find the place where we can talk about that, because if that's the starting place where bad dreams come from the devil, that's going to be really hard to work with. And so there's some complicated stuff you can get into about William Blake and,
okay.
Job and, well, what is that? What is evil? What is the devil anyway? The advocate, in those stories. So we don't, that gets down in it. But yes, I have run into that. And I do think that does kind of shut down the conversation, unless the dream feels good. But of course, what we learn, there's all these things we can learn and learn and learn and learn and learn as we explore, Jungian and indigenous and all these ways of working with dreams. But I think the one key point that is so important is that the I in the dream, the dream ego, that is the least reliable character in the whole thing.
It's the least reliable character. Okay.
That is who's here to get schooled, That is that's what's going to get worked on. And so when we, forget dreams, as we mostly do, I mean, that part of us is always getting asked to change, to transform, to, individuate, to
right.
That's a hard ask, right? And so I think the one thing that really does, I think, maybe bring us together is what could possibly be asked of that the I in the dream, right? What is so scary about that? Or what is so devilish about that? What is, maybe we're just needing to look at that with a little more tenderness and understanding and say, that part of me who doesn't want to look at the wolf, that part of me who, falls down manhole covers, that part of me who, whatever the disturbing thing is, that is exactly who is being worked on right now. And that is kind of a divine process. Hafiz has a wonderful poem, and in it is this line: that place where you are right now, God circled on a map for you. The beloved has bowed here, knowing you were coming. And it's like, it's manna every morning. That's what's getting.
Laura, can you quote that again? I would really like to hear that one more time.
Yeah. And I may skip a line or two, but it's Hafiz, and I found it in the big yellow book called The Gift, translated by Daniel Ladinsky. But he goes, this place you are right now, the beloved has circled, God circled on a map for you. The beloved has bowed here, knowing you were coming. And so it's about that intersection of, that sense of danger or disturbance that we get in a disturbing. I love disturbing dreams. Something is going on. And so at that point, that's the piece of us that's getting worked on by the psyche, by the divine, by the, that longing at the heart of life to grow. Like that's the deal. Yeah.
Beautiful. Laura Hileman, so glad to have you on the show. Her webpage is firebynight.net, N-E-T. And we're going to take a short break, and we will be back with lots more. We're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of long-term dream journaling, and it looks like we actually already have a caller on the line, so we will bring that caller up in just a moment. So thank you, Laura.
Thanks.
We are broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU. So we will be right back. You are listening to The Dream Journal, and I am Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork. I'd like to welcome folks from all over the country that we have listening in right now. And just to let you know, people really are interested in their dreams. If you want to help us nudge the algorithm to help spread this interest, please follow The Dream Journal on your favorite podcast app. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You find out about upcoming shows and pod drops by following hashtag The Dream Journal and at Experiential Dreamwork. I also have a YouTube page, which is fairly extensive. It's also at Experiential Dreamwork. If you are inspired, please leave a rating or review. But really, the most important thing that you can do in response to this podcast is to start talking to your friends about your dreams. And because you may be surprised to find out how many folks are interested in dreams. And I really want to get folks dreaming. So contact me if you'd like to be a guest on the show to talk about a new book or to let folks know about your dream-related offerings. I have weekly shows, so I'm always looking for guests. Next week, the Dream Journal welcomes Jenna Ludwig. She'll be talking about dreams and death, including precognitive dreams prior to diagnosis and the dreams that come to us close to death. Plus, we'll be talking about visitation dreams and synchronicities. So today's guest is Laura Hilemen of firebynight.net. We're talking about long-term dream journaling and dreams and spirituality. And I'm going to go straight to the phones. I understand that we have a call from, let me get my notes, from Henry from Ontario, California. Hello, Henry.
Hi, it's Henny, actually.
Henny.
That's a common misunderstanding. Yes,
Henny,
thank you for taking my call. This is a fascinating topic.
Great. Glad to have you on the show. So what can we do for you?
So I've been doing dream work for a number of years now, and I find it just absolutely fascinating. And I'm really looking for ways of enhancing the work even more. And I wonder if the speaker, what their ideas are about the integration of active imagination and any other thoughts and ideas about how to carry the dream work forward in a more active way.
Yeah, thank you, Henny. How about Laura? What do you think about?
Hi, Henny. That's a great question. Yeah. You know, I think honestly, the way is like down. You know, in my explorations, what I've learned is to simply slip in to the dream character, to always remember that whatever creature or person or object action is going on in the dream that really has my emotional interest, that really arouses that, like, that is the point, or that is the person, slip inside it and experience the dream from its point of view, because it knows why it's here. It's part of us. It gets it. And so to just make a practice of going, okay, every time you're writing down a dream, choose one bit, one person, character, and just slip into that. And then you'll get a better, you'll just start practicing, that shift into its perspective. And I think that's one thing, is just that. Of course, you can always write out a long active imagination dialogue. The 6 magic questions that Bob Haas proposes, we should put that in the show notes, are super helpful shorthand. But for me, I think it's like being a 3rd grader all the time. Where you just,
but in a good way,
where you just like inhabit it. I had this groundhog emerge up from the ground in a dream recently, and it was just so puzzling. And I thought, Laura, you know what to do. I mean, it took me 2 days, and then I just said, I am the groundhog, and I just emerged, and then I did what it did, which is found some stairs to go, and it just really shifted everything for me. Not that I have this figured out, because rarely do we. It's about participating in that relational mystery and carrying on for me. So that's some of it. And also, I think meditative, something where our hands are busy and our minds are free, helps a lot. To just like go on a walk, holding that question. Knitting is good. Just sort of some painting, fill up a mandala, draw a circle and just see what comes as you're holding that question, that image in the mind. I hope I'm tapping into the right question here about my presumption is that there's a character or an animal or a object that's
So Henny, how is that landing for you? What is that
really good?
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah, I think I get kind of twisted around with active imagination, trying to figure out what it is, and I think I probably overly complicated. So I like that advice. Just simply slip in to a character. Yeah, I think
I have a little note
really
on my desk here that just says "Ask the third grader." Like, just ask her. She's always there. But just that playful. Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Also, dressing like wearing something. Like what a color, something. I've said this, but put a string around your wrist, wear it for a week as a reminder to not forget that this is part of me that's activated right now, and then see what comes.
Well, I would say that I do sometimes use active imagination if I feel stuck, or if I'm just kind of really and I'm tired of being stuck, because it could be good to be stuck for a while, but sometimes I'm like, can I dream the dream forward, and like what do I do next? And so occasionally sometimes I will let myself do that, but then I worry about my mind getting too involved and getting too judgmental and choicey. And yet it can be really valuable, like this kind of dialogue. And so Henny, like, I'm just wondering, what kinds of active imagination do you do with your dreams sometimes? Because it can be valuable.
I'm similar kinds of things, like trying to like Laura was saying, to inhabit kind of a perspective of one character. But I think, I think I was overly complicating things. I think that just kind of letting the dream speak to me and letting that character speak to me, I think, is really good advice.
Well, totally. Well, I found that as I've slowly learned to trust my dreams, that is led to me trusting myself, which has been really huge. The most transformative part of doing dream work is learning to trust myself, without having to have a lot of explanations. Just like, this is what I have the urge to do, and if it's not hurting anybody, then go ahead and do it. Like, just following those breadcrumbs.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Henny. I'm so glad you called.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Can I throw in one more thing that comes up that I like to kind of throw in? If we have a mysterious person or animal or being in the dream, it's like, well, we want to be in relationship. So it's like, what do we feed them? Like, actually, what do you feed them? Eat it.
What do you mean? I'm sorry, I'm not quite following.
Oh, like, I had this one person who I worked with for a while, and she had this massive table in her home that she never used. So she literally set places at the table for new dream characters, and put little place cards, and would sit down, and we sort of talked about, well, what does Napoleon want to eat? What? He's probably not so much about those lentils that I'm going to cook.
Probably not.
He's going to need a standing rib roast or something. And so you eat it because you're feeding that part of you and inviting him into communion with your consciousness, right?
Oh, yes. Love that.
Lovely.
Okay.
Lovely.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Laura.
you so much.
Thanks, Henny. All right, we have another caller, which is Michelle from Tennessee. Hi, Michelle.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for calling in.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great show.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad you called.
Yeah.
What can we do for you? Yeah.
That sometimes the dream images are so unusual, even sometimes bizarre, that I feel a little discouraged on knowing how to unpack them.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask Laura, do you feel like all dream images are metaphors, symbols? And do you have any kind of practical, put in my back pocket tips on how to unpack those metaphors or symbols?
Mm-hmm. I love that question.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's good.
I think they're all loaded. I think they're all purposeful. And so whether, they're technically metaphors or technically symbols, all of that imagistic language is there to help us know that there's more than simply the picture. I mean, if there's a feeling associated with it, then it's asking for attention. And so, so how do we make sure I'm answering the right question? How do we explore that or relate to it? What was the exact question?
Well, yeah, I mean, either of those sound solid to me. I know that sometimes when I wake up in the morning and a dream has come and there's been some kind of bizarre image in it, that I feel less inclined to try to do active imagination that the last caller just talked about with it. I feel more distant from it. And I'm just wondering, how can I, get over that emotional hurdle of bizarre images and like, how could I have dreamt that feeling?
Yeah. Especially if it's disturbing or just kind of off-putting. Yeah. I had one the other night, and I was going, I can't skip this because it's weird. So the odd things are the ones that kind of they often put together. They're kind of these composites of, maybe some day residue and maybe some memory and maybe some, picture language or a pun even, and so what are all those? Just spending time with it and just letting there be a blank page in the notebook, or or 2 or 3, or just dedicate a little place to it if it's super powerful. But the question is, what are those? What does it want to share bit by bit, layer by layer? Just for instance, because it's helpful to have an example, I had these berries. There are these berries, and they looked like sort of the shape of raspberries, but they looked like the end of a really densely packed paintbrush, and they were being served at Christmas. And so I'm putting together everything I know about, paintbrushes and red and Christmas and being excluded. There was sort of an exclusion, and Persephone, who eats the berries in this dark sort of underground place. And so you eat the berries and you stay in the underworld, and you become and just like all of these things, and then memories of waking life memories, and dreams reference other dreams too, right? So you just sort of let all that gather and just sort of be in the perfume of it all, and see what opens. And sometimes you can ask for another dream about it, right? Or you just sort of pay attention to what comes else from other parts of through synchronicity. Or this morning there was a note from a dreamer in a dream group. There had been an issue with shoes in the last dream meeting. Well, here she's got this whole 2 pages in something she read about a dream about shoes that was in her novel, and she just sent it, and it was so helpful. Like these things just rain down around us if we start expecting it and are open to it and have those eyes. So I just feel like, it's less about knowing and more about being in relationship with this part of me that seems to be connected to, in the case of this, with the berry. I mean, all those parts, like what wants to be painted or felt or tasted, or how does this make me linger here,
Right. Like I like to say, the dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means.
Yes.
Right. But Michelle, I wonder if there's something in particular that you dreamed about that you were thinking of?
Well, nothing comes to mind right now, but I do like the answer that I'm getting here. I'm kind of getting the idea that just simply being curious and having patience and looking for synchronicities will help fill in and bring meaning to it.
Beautiful.
I think the dream altar is a good idea too. And we've, people talk about that all the time, but like, where do you put these things, these questions, these images, these little sketches or bits of Play-Doh that you, shape into something and just like have it out there, like here are these little eggs in a nest, practically. What's going to hatch? Something will, if I tend it. Yeah, something's going to
our intellectual self is only part of who we are, and it's maybe not even the largest part. So there's a lot of things that I don't understand, and working with my dreams has over time helped me to trust that even the things I can't understand, that they're somehow valuable. And so I love how your question really highlights this, Michelle. Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, take care, Michelle.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye now. So, Laura, this is a great conversation. We still have a few minutes left, and I wonder if you would like to circle back around to the original topic about long-term dream journaling. And you said you might have some specific ideas about the nuts and bolts of dream journaling, like should we be writing down what's happening that day, or what kind of things? What do you recommend that people do if they want to look at this overview of their dreams?
Well, so I'll tell you how I do it, and my sense is once you sort of start in, you'll figure out your way to do it, right? But
sure.
but the pieces are some notes about what's going on in your waking life, and also watch what's going on in the larger collective as well, and sort of what moves you, where's the emotional piece, So notes about the day help. I also keep track of, so in the beginning of a dream, and I do everything longhand, and that is so, I know, inefficient, but I don't care. I love the feeling.
People love that. People recommend that. Go girl. That's great.
It is so more, if you don't use, have your little online, but I don't do it that way. And so I like what's going on with my body. I have a page on that for each, paper journal. And then what have I read? Who have I seen? What music has moved me, and then the list of the dream index with, sort of some topics and things that I see, repeated images kind of highlighted. But yeah, the day journal. And of course, just a note about recording a dream. I just think it's so important to remember that, as we wake up, our language centers are not online. And so to leap into language is one of the worst things we can do. So lying there, I just like to call it the dream wallow, where you just
dream wallow.
You just feel the feelings, see the pictures, and you just let it stay in your mind. And then you sort of, probably working backwards, you start like connecting those images, the story emerges, and then you put language on it. And then you just reach over under your pillow where you've kept your little scratch pad, just a few things. And then later all that comes back if you put just a few things down before you really move and get up and active. So, and I like to do this. If you're keeping a paper journal, there sort of comes a time when you hit the other end of the notebook, and it's a perfect time to, do this. But I kind of have a little greatest hits journal, or you can do that online, where it's like, okay, what was going on, and what are the big dreams of this little stretch right here, and that goes in another notebook. All right, where I'm sort of these are the big dreams. These are the standouts, and by that I don't mean like flagship dreams, but this had energy, Maybe I worked with my dream worker on that one, my spiritual director. Maybe maybe there are 3 dreams about elephants in a row, so something's up. So and then from time to time, I'll say, let's look at I used to do this in August because I had a bunch of kids, and August is just really hard on moms. So I would run away and take my dreams from the year and then really look at what are the stories evolving, what stories are evolving for me over this year, and then put that together. And then, having some sort of way that you keep those dreams around you, you make art, you maybe a playlist or something that they come to mind. You share them.
You mentioned the dream altar as well. You mentioned that.
Yeah. And then what I like to do, I have these things that I do. Sometimes around between Christmas and Epiphany that week. And I call them Epiphany Dream Workshops, and we really do it together. and we take a week and we really look at all of these pieces of the story that we've been living and say, what do the dreams want us to see here?
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Laura Hileman, this is firebynight.net. Maybe you'd like to say a few words about your offerings, and you mentioned something about a class coming up in September.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask listeners one question, because I really want to hear about this. I really believe that, it is time for us to be normalizing. And you said this, and I really wanted to underline and go, yes, absolutely. One thing we can do is normalize dream conversation so that dreams become part of just how we relate to each other, and asking people if, respectfully, if they'd like to share a dream. I really do believe that we are in a place in the collective where the dreams can really help us as we navigate challenging times. I would love to be able to do some more work with dream groups, specifically for like environmental activists, or dream groups specifically for, people who are trying to be change makers and light bringers in the world right now. I just think that could be an amazing piece of the work. So that's out there, and I would love to hear dreams from anybody. I respond to anybody who writes me an email, so I would love to hear what people are dreaming.
So how would folks get in touch with you? We have your webpage. Is that the best way?
Laura at firebynight.net. Yeah, it's on that's it. Okay. And then what was your question about? Oh, just things like, so I do, dream groups. I do dream groups in the fall, so they start late August and go through the early December, and then I start them again in January, and we go through early May. So those are always going, and I just see who's there and organize us, and it always works out. I love one-on-one work, where we for a little while we really look at your dreams. Maybe it's just one dream, maybe we work for a little while together, or a long time, whatever the dreams are asking, and blend that in with, how are these dreams part of what part of your life is this dream trying to get you to sort of understand, that's where the spiritual direction comes in, or the, practical integration. And I probably this summer, I'll be doing one of those, overtime dream, it's long view, dream workshops that we just take a week together, and
like
you only show up. It's like a retreat. So you show up together online, like about 3 times, but then there's all these opportunities. You do some one-on-one work with me. There are these, we call them campfires, that are available every night if you want to work. But you're what you're doing, everybody's moving through the same kind of work at the same time, and then we have a kind of a story sharing at the end.
Fabulous. Laura, thank you. You have so much going on. This is Laura Hileman. Her webpage again is firebynight.net. So good to have you on the show.
Well, I appreciate this very much, and I love the show. I've been discovering more and more, and
great.
So what a great gift it is that you're giving to us all. Showing up every Saturday.
Okay, thanks so much, Laura. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I am Catherine Bell. You can find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. Email me at catherine@ksqd.org, KATHERINE, at ksqd.org. Follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag The Dream Journal on Facebook and Instagram to find out about upcoming shows. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, engineer and music creator. Audio editing by Suki Wessling. Phones by Tony Russimano. And intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.
where